Alright, this is 5 shaded forms in pencil. So we're going to be starting with a sphere, and these are sped up, so don't think that I shade this fast. Even speeding this up double time it's still a 30-minute video. So just keep that in mind as you're watching me shade. So I just used a form to create the sphere. And then what you want to do is I like to start with the light and then just put down a layer of pencil. And then I'm going around. You want to try to shade around the object like a cross contour to keep it looking like a form. But you are going to be doing layers of pencil. This is not a one and done kind of thing. So kind of just watch me as I go around, and you can absolutely use the reference sheet that I printed for you and just copy what I've done. But remember those 5 important values when you're shading, and especially in the sphere. So again, I'm just building up the layers. I'm not using the point of the pencil because that's going to make a harsh line. I'm just trying to get down some graphite. And then I also have a variety of pencils that I'm using. So I have a 6B, I have a 4B, a 2B, and an HB. I'm also going to be using a tissue and then a blending stump to kind of blend in some of my lines. That is optional. You just want to make sure you try to have a flat value though. You don't want to see a lot of scribbling with this. You can see as I'm going along, I'm doing little circles. That's just kind of how I shade. And then I'm going to go over it with a darker pencil to bring out the darkest shade in the sphere. So I'm really trying to bring out those 5 values. I want a lot of contrast. I want it to look like a realistic form. It should look 3-dimensional. All right, at this point, I'm going to bring out a tissue. You could also use a blending stump, and I kind of blend in little circles. You need to be very careful you don't over blend, because then it's just going to look like a big mashed potato mess. So what I like to do is blend it, but then I'm going to go back over it with pencils. I don't want to eliminate all of my pencil marks, because remember, that's like my signature. And I don't want it just to look super blurry. So you have to have a balance of blending and pencil strokes. And you can also use a blending stump. For bigger areas, I just like to use a tissue. Never use your finger, and you can see at some point in here, by accident put my finger on it. Your finger has oils in it that can damage the paper and leave little marks. I also like to go back in with my eraser and use that as a drawing tool. That is like one of my favorite things to do. So I will go back in and erase out the highlight. And then when making the shadow, remember the cast shadow is the darkest value. So I'm really pressing hard. I'm using the point of the pencil to really bring out that cast shadow and make that sphere pop. Alright, so I'm just adding a little bit more darkness. Using my eraser a little bit, kind of smoothing it out. And then I am going to use a little bit of a blending stump to blend out that shadow. Our next form is the cylinder. So to draw the cylinder, you really want to draw two identical ellipses on top of each other. I know that's hard to see. And then draw a line connecting them. So you shouldn't have any sharp points on your cylinder. So if you see it comes to a point like an eyeball or a football, you want to fix that. So I fix mine later. But the bottom should be rounded. So once you got your two ellipses and you connect them, then you want to start shading. And I do it the same way I do the sphere. I build up my value. Look at your reference sheet, because the way the light goes around a sphere is different than a cylinder. It kind of goes in like these lines, so I kind of just delineated those two sections. And then my light source is coming from the top right. But it's pretty much the same thing. I'm just laying down values, and then I will blend. Okay, so I'm using my darker pencil. I like to shade around the form, like I said before. So kind of a cross contour. I don't like drawing on this table because it makes some marks on the paper. So I end up using the blending stump a little bit and then go over it. So I kind of just go back and forth using my blending stump and the pencil, because I don't want it to be just a big fat mush. And then use your reference as you're shading. Alright, just doing some final touches. Like I said, that cast shadow should be the darkest. I'm just adding a little bit of edges on there. It's a little bit more. So make sure, take your time. You want this to look as good as it can. Then again, love using the eraser. Alright, so our next form is the cube. So a simple cube, you're going to draw a square. And you don't need a ruler, you can just freehand it. If you want a ruler, absolutely, you can use a ruler. And then I make 3 parallel lines. Parallel means the same angle. And then I connect them. And there you have a cube. And then the difference between shading a cube is that there's no roundness to a cube. It's all edges. So the planes of the cube are going to be different values in themselves, almost like you're doing a value scale. So there isn't a whole lot of difference on each side. So each side is going to have its own value. There will be little blending, a little bit, but not a whole lot. So make sure you're using your reference as you shade. But you should have at least 3 different values. All right, next up is our cone. Our cone is another rounded form. So to draw the cone, I'm just going to draw like a V shape, upside down V, and then an ellipse at the bottom. So it's kind of like a cylinder with a point. You shade it very similarly to the cylinder. It kind of goes around in lines or bands. And then there is my shadow. So use your reference that I printed out for you. Whoever made that on the internet, thank you very much. I use it all the time. And then just start shading. So same thing, building up your values, look at your reference, and then make sure that cast shadow is the darkest. All right, always make sure to refine and make it look the best you can. And then our last shape is going to be a pyramid. So the pyramid is kind of like the cube. It has flat planes, so it's going to be edges. It's not going to be as smooth as our other ones. So to draw the pyramid, I draw a big triangle. And then I'm going to draw a line coming down from the side and then a line down to the corner. So you're only going to see two sides. So I'm going to shade this just like I shaded the cube. So I'm making the light source come from the right, so that's going to be the light side. So the shadow is going to be in front. But it's the same idea, except instead of having those smoother blends, you're going to have sharp edges. It's a very geometric form. All right, doing a little refining, a little blending, finishing it off. So you should have 5 completed forms in class to turn in. And I'm sure by the end of this, you have probably gotten so much better at shading and understanding how to create form. And this is what you should be turning in. It should look something like this. And I cannot wait to see your work. Good job.